Welcome back to the JustBeCos podcast, a podcast featuring all things cosplay. This podcast features me, Mangle Phantom, and me, Marmalade. Okay, as you can see, I'm just here by myself today because Maia has been very busy, a very busy lady. If you've been following her stuff, which you probably already do, she's been involved in making music videos, she's been doing dance routines, she's flying down to Melbourne, she's got uni starting soon, and she's running a couple of jobs. So she has unfortunately had no time to record this week or last week. So you've been following us for a while, you know that we try to release every single week on a Monday, and we've missed last Monday. And as things would have been, we probably would have missed the next couple of weeks as well, just with how busy her schedule is at the moment. We just haven't had time to fit things in. So we could keep you up to date, so we could bring you the freshest content, so we could bring you all of the things that you love to hear, as we've been told, background noise. We're going to bring you some more background noise, but I'm just going to change things up just for the next week. Hopefully, if we need to, just for the next 2 weeks, but Maya should be back to her regular program. We'll find some time to set some time aside for this podcast whenever we can. Hopefully it's going to be the week after. So, just for this week anyway, it's just gonna be me, your friend Jeremy, your favourite cosplay podcaster, right after Marmalade Cos herself. So, you might be thinking, well, how's he going to do this? Honestly, I've got no idea. We'll see how we go. I'm not sure if we can actually carry the full hour just solo, but you know what? Stranger things have happened, and we'll see how we go with this one. But we're going to make it very, let's say very appropriate, in which we're going to be talking this week, quite literally, about solo cosplay. Now, for a lot of people, you might be like, oh, solo cosplay. I would never cosplay by myself. It's scary. People might see me as a loner, or, you know, I just don't want to be that person who hangs around or wants to fit in. But everyone starts somewhere, okay? If you were fortunate, and I guess in my case, I was very fortunate, in which I did do my very first costume. I reached out onto the Supernova forums. There were forums back in the day, with the first costume I was planning to do. And there were some lovely people there who responded saying, hey, we're doing costumes from the same series, let's do a group. So I was very fortunate in that from the start I hit the ground running and I had people I could just talk to. But for some people, maybe for a lot of us, this might not really be the case. They might have no close connections. In my case, I didn't really have anyone at the all-boys school I went to who liked cosplay. They didn't like anime and manga. They weren't as weeby or as nerdy as me. I was like the anime guy, the guy that goes to free dress days wearing a full anime shirt, which was 3 sizes too big because that's the only shirt I could get my hand on. But I loved it because it was anime, and that's what I wanted to do. I was the anime guy of my school, right? So if I was the only one who was, you know, hesitant to cosplay, you could surely bet that there would be nobody else in my school, in my year level, in my class, who wanted to cosplay as well. I would definitely have been by myself. So, if that's the case, you might be thinking, well, if that's the case, I've got no friends to go with. I didn't get as lucky as you, Jeremy. I didn't have any friends who I reached out to online and they responded, and we so happened to be doing the same costume. I'm not going to start cosplay because I'll be by myself. So, what we're going to talk about today is why it's bloody good, why you really should do solo cosplay. It's going to be a good thing. I'll show you why, okay? Now, unfortunately, like I said, there's not going to be as much back and forth. I've just got my experience to share. It's just going to be solely from my perspective, but hopefully it'll kind of give you a bit of an understanding about, you know, why it's probably a good thing if your friends can't make it one weekend to a con, or your whole group bails on you for some reason, and you're the only one in costume. We're going to kind of go over a few different things that I've been through, some things I've learned, and hopefully you'll be able to take some things away from that as well. Now, as you can notice, drinks this week. I literally had one Blue V in the fridge. That's all I've got to go on. It didn't feel right going and buying a new drink and experiencing it all by my lonesome. I really could have, and I should have, but just for this week, we're going to make an exception. Have a flavoured drink. You all know what this is. You don't need me to explain exactly what this is. So this will carry us through the next while. You know, background noise. That's what we're going to be here for. So, I went to summer party yesterday, Summer Party is Brisbane's version of the dance scene, where all of the K-pop dance groups, the J-pop dance group, the idol community all kind of come together. It's usually sometime in February, and there's a stage out in a public piazza, which we've got down by South Bank, and all the dance groups come together. Great vibe, everyone dances, everyone cheers. It's really fun. Now, usually I've been involved in those things usually as an MC or as an organiser, but because they switched around management this year, they've got a completely new group who did it this year, and it was great. It was fantastic. So this year I got to go as a spectator. I didn't actually have any appointments. I didn't have anything else to really do, except just kind of go there, catch up with people, have a good time. And that's all I really did. And it was the first kind of event I think I've been to in a while in which I didn't really have any commitments. I didn't have any schedule. I didn't really have anything there to do. So this is kind of where it started to crop up in my mind. Mind you, I'm doing this podcast with Maia's blessing, so thank you, Maia. She said, look, I don't want our podcast to fall behind, do some content, get something out there. That's why I'm here today. Otherwise, first focus, I usually probably wouldn't do this kind of thing. It really would prefer to do it as JustBeCos, both Maia and Jeremy, because it's a team thing. But for the sake of us keeping up to our schedule, she gave me a blessing to make something like this. And like I said, going to an event yesterday, quite literally yesterday, I thought to myself, like, wow, well, something that I could do is just talking about solo cosplay. Because it's not something I think that if we were together, we could share experiences, but it's probably not a topic that we'd think about or bring up as such as a priority. So, but I brought this up in particular because it really did kind of give me, I won't say, flashbacks or, triggers of bad memories, because don't get me wrong, I've done solo cosplay before and I've had some bad experiences, which I'm going to go through in a second, but I think especially when I was starting out doing cosplay, and because I was the only dude I knew that was doing it at the time, in my circles anyway, it was obviously a very intimidating prospect, You don't know what kind of reactions you're going to get from people. Well, obviously from my parents and my immediate friend circle, it was already a little bit like, oh, you're dressing up? That's a bit weird. Like, what are you doing that for? Like, what do you want to wear makeup for? What are you dressing up in this fancy dress costume and going out to... Are you going to go out in public like that? You're obviously going to get all of this... People are going to say things, and you're not really sure what you should do. It's like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. Maybe I should just dress in normal clothes and go to this anime convention. But as you've already probably tried cosplay yourself, it's a lot of fun, and you don't really want to miss out, and you want to be part of the scene. But when you do it by yourself, especially maybe it's your first time, or maybe you've always usually gone in a group and you don't want to go by yourself, you don't really know what to expect. Am I going to be by myself the whole day? Am I going to be like the loner in the corner who doesn't have any cosplay friends and everyone else has got a friend? What should I do? Maybe I just shouldn't go and cosplay. Those are some of the things that might run through your mind, because that's what ran through mine. It was a little bit tough. But I did push through it, and I had some really good experiences, and I had some really bad experiences, okay? So, some things to go through. Number one, I did, when I first started, go by myself, had some people I talked to. We hung around some of the time, but not the whole time, because they were complete strangers. We didn't, hit it off immediately from the start. So, excuse me. So we didn't really hang out the entire time. So a lot of the time I was kind of by myself, okay? And then after a few years, I did go to the conventions, I did meet a few people, and then there was a group of people I kind of knew. You kind of knew them. I was like, oh, I kind of want to get to know them better, but I don't want to be left out. I don't have any plans. So I ended up doing a costume from a series I didn't really know. I did a character I didn't really know. And just so I could be part of this group, just so I could fit in. And as a result, did I have a lot of fun? It was okay. It was an okay experience. Did I like my costume? No. Did I like the series I was doing it from? I didn't really know it at the time. But it was one of those things which I was just a very small part of something a lot bigger. And at the end of the day, when I went home, I did get the chance to kind of talk to some people. I got the chance to meet some people, but it wasn't something I was really passionate about. And so in the end, I felt like maybe I should have just done something which I did really like to cosplay instead. So again, that's another experience I didn't want to miss out. So I ended up sacrificing, I guess in this case, something I would have preferred to do just for the sake of trying to fit into a group. Now, there's going to be lessons to be learned from this, don't you worry, just hang in there. But the first time I think I really started to do a lot more cosplay solo, right? Just going out there by myself, putting myself out there, doing something which is a little bit different, was the first time I pretty much had my first breakup from a long-term relationship. I've mentioned this before, I've mentioned it a few times. But I was in a long-term relationship with someone I used to date, obviously, for a good 6-7 years, and we cosplayed pretty much together every single convention, which was great. It was a lot of fun. But after that ended, I found myself, doing things purely by myself, for the first time in a very long time. And that harrowing aspect of, you're usually that guy who always cosplays with somebody else, or you're always with a partner, or is doing something together, but it felt like by myself. And again, the same thoughts crept in. I'm going to be by myself. Is this going to be weird? Am I going to be like lonely? Because I was always used to having somebody by my side the whole time, but this time it was just nobody. It was extremely, extremely intimidating. And the last thing I can probably think of is an interstate trip I did. I thought to myself, mind you, this is a few years after my breakup, I went interstate thinking, you know what, I don't need to book with friends, I'm pretty good at talking to people, I don't need to make any plans with anybody, I don't need to even meet anybody down there, because I'm pretty comfortable with myself. I'll go there and I'll meet people, I'll have a great time. That trip, unfortunately, ended up being one of the worst trips I've ever been on. A few factors involved, but long story short, the people I did end up staying with, had a bit of a falling out with them, and their circle of friends, same thing, probably tried to avoid me that whole weekend. I spent a lot of that weekend alone, unfortunately, just due to a bunch of factors. Some were my fault, some were out of my control, but that was, I guess, the risk I took for saying, I'm going to go to this convention by myself with people I don't really know and I'm not that close to, just to see what it's like. So it was an experience in itself. So you might be thinking already, like, wow, 1, 2, 3, 4, there's all these bad experiences I've had kind of going into cosplay solo. So already you might be thinking, well, that's put the nail in the coffin. I'm not going to cosplay by myself. It's with people or nothing. However, it's thanks to going through these experiences, and not all of them were bad experiences, some of them were actually quite good. For example, in this case, some of the things I did do that was very good. I actually got the chance to meet a lot of people I wouldn't have got the chance to meet if I was kind of in my group. And at this point in time too, I did kind of go out of my way to talk to people I guess I didn't really know very well. Because, you go to a con and you're like, I know this person a little bit, I know this person a little bit better, but I don't know them all that well. So I actually took the chance to, get to know people a lot better. And it's through, spending a lot more time with people saying, hey, let's grab a drink, or hey, let's grab a bite to eat, or let's walk around the con for a bit, that I actually got to know a lot of people that you know people in passing. I got to know them quite a lot better. Was I friends with them by the end of it? Some, yes. Some, not really. But that's what I learnt, and that's something I probably wouldn't have got the chance to learn if I had just kind of stuck with my partner at the time for the entire time that I went to cons. Okay? So, already, there's probably a bit big of a list. Why should I go cosplay solo? Why shouldn't I? My overarching thing, just for this entire segment, for this entire podcast in particular, just for this episode, is you should do cosplay solo. You should. At least a few times in your life, and it's something I think you should revisit on occasion. Not all the time, because you've probably figured out too, if you've got the chance to do it and you're fortunate to have a very close circle of friends who cosplay is the most fun when you are able to do it with people. And so with people, it's with people you genuinely care about, with people you genuinely get along with, and it's with people that you genuinely enjoy the company of. What you don't want to do is... so many things. Where do I start? What you don't want to do is get into cosplay and join groups or do cosplay with people because you want to fit in, because you don't want to be alone, but you don't really have that close connection with them. Okay? But what I'm going to do, I wrote a whole list. See this whole list just to make sure I don't run out of things, but I'm going through it a lot slower than I thought, which is good. I think we're actually going to make the hour today if that's the case. But what we're going to do here is why you should go and do cosplay solo, okay? So, first things first, You have probably done costumes, and like, I don't know, maybe by this stage you have gotten into groups, you have met a few people, and by this stage maybe you're already making plans. You're like, wow, we should do a cosplay together, yeah. And maybe they've mentioned a costume which they want to do, and they're like, yeah, I really want to do this costume, and you should do this one. And because you want to fit in, you're like, oh, I don't really like that series, I don't really like that costume, but I don't want to be by myself, so I'm going to do that costume with you. By all means, give it a try. Give it a try, but I think you'll very, very quickly figure out that if it's not something that you genuinely like, it's not a character that you genuinely care about, you're not going to enjoy yourself as much. So the obvious goal should be, let's pick a series which we both like, characters which we both enjoy, and we can cosplay together. It should be something in which you so happen to have a mutual liking of something, you do it together, not something that you get roped into or you feel pressured to do because there's your friend or another member of the group really wants to do a particular series, and they just want to fill the roles of everybody in the group. Okay? If it's something which, hey, you'd love to do that character, or it's a series that you like and you don't mind helping out a friend, by all means go for it. But if it's, something in which you only get the chance to go to a convention once, twice, maybe 3 times a year, and you only get the chance to do a couple of costumes, got to ask yourself at that point in time, obviously, do I want to do this costume for me, or am I doing it just to fit into a group? Okay? So, number 1, you should do cosplays solo, because straight up you get to do what you want to do. And you might be thinking, that's a silly thing, I could do what I want to do anyway. But obviously when it comes into, you want to fit in, you want to be part of a community, you want to have friends around you, you obviously want to do stuff which matches with people. But you might also get into the tract as well, in I think which I was for a long time as well. You might meet people at a convention, okay? You meet people, and then at that convention, you're like, okay, I kind of get along well with this person. We kind of get along well, we kind of talk sometimes, but you just don't have that really close connection. You know what I'm talking about? It's the kind of connection which you bounce back and forth. Talking to them feels effortless. You don't have to think about what to say. You're just always laughing, always having fun. And then, with some other people, you feel like there's only a little bit to say and you run out of conversation topics really quickly. There's just not that social chemistry. Yeah, that's very normal. You're going to have people you get along with really well. You're going to have people you don't get along well with as much. It's not as if you hate them or they're an enemy or you had a fight or something. You just don't have that same chemistry. That's completely fine. But what you might find yourself doing, and this is what I did when I first got into the cosplay scene, I was desperate. I was very desperate to kind of fit in. I wanted to make friends. So I started hanging around people I just had a conversation with, just a small conversation. But I was too scared to start a conversation with anybody else, so I ended up sticking around with these people the entire day, even though we didn't get along that well. Like I said, it's not as if we had a fight, it's not as if we didn't get on, it's just we didn't have that much in common, our chemistry wasn't that good, but because I was so afraid of being alone, I didn't want to be that loner, I just didn't leave that group for the rest of the day. And that ended up being my entire weekend, so by the end of it, it's like, yeah, cool, I hung out with some people I kind of get along well with. I had an okay time, but I didn't really meet anybody else because I was so afraid of being alone. So, that's the second part of why you should also do cosplay solo, is because it's actually a good opportunity to meet people. You're like, oh, well, what do you mean, good opportunity to meet people? When you are in a group, maybe it is a group of good friends, maybe it's just a group of people who you've met and you kind of get along well, you might think, oh, cool, I found my little group, I don't have to be alone for today, I don't have to be alone for the weekend, I don't have to stick out and be that loner walking around. That is good. If you enjoy their company, you're just there to have a good time, have a great weekend with your mates, excellent. But if it's somebody that you're like, oh, we kind of get along well, we're not great friends, but, we get along and it's okay, we talk, don't feel like you have to stick around with your group the entire weekend. You can. Look, it's your life, it's your weekend, you do what you want with it. So when you go to a convention, you might meet up with your friends and say, hey, let's take pictures, let's have a good time. But if you want to go off and do your own thing, I very much encourage you to do so. There was it's from myself, I've had these experiences, and I was talking to Maia, she's even mentioned this to me as well before, in which you're in a group of friends and you feel like you should stay together the whole weekend because like that's your clique, that's your little circle. But if you do so, it makes it very, very difficult to meet somebody else. Put it like this. Say there was a group of 4, 5, 6 people. They're all matching. They're all in the same outfits. Have you ever wanted to just like, hey, I want to kind of get to know them. I want to take a picture. Is it difficult to kind of, go into that circle and say hi and interrupt the entire group? It's difficult. It really is, because you might feel like, oh, I'm interrupting them. Maybe they're just having a good time with their friends. Maybe they don't want to be disturbed. It could be all of these things, but you would know yourself. If you're by yourself and you want to go talk to a big group of people, it's very difficult. For a lot of people, if you're not really used to being social, especially with lots of people around, it's a lot easier if there's fewer people, or you pull one of them to the side and you say hi. But it's obviously extremely difficult to do so if you're in a big group and you want to try and meet new people. In the same way, if you're in that big group of people, it's like, oh, well, I want to try and make it easier to meet other people. It's easiest if you're the one who's going to take the initiative to go talk to them, okay? So it's a good opportunity to meet people if you are cosplaying solo, because you're a lot less scary. You're a lot less scary. Now, the last point I think of why you really should do cosplay solo, because like I said, we've talked about, being in a big group, you're doing things because you want to do it, or you're doing things just because your friends want to do it. But another way in which you can really experience what the life is like solo is you get to do things on your schedule. I think the biggest way to kind of get this experience really is to go through the motions. Like, we can talk about anything that we're talking about today or in any other episode, and it's going to be like, yeah, this is my experience, you should watch out for this, or you should make sure you do these things and don't do these things. But you're really only going to get a real kind of taste of it when you go through it or when it happens to you. But the real point of the whole podcast thing that we're doing anyway is to, increase that awareness of when it does happen. So rather than, you have a bad experience one time and you're like, oh, I didn't expect this, or what should I do next? When, something happens, you're like, oh, I remember this is what's, Jeremy or Maia mentioned in the podcast about that particular thing. This makes a lot of sense now, and you kind of know what to do going forward from that point onwards. So maybe you're thinking, oh god, they're talking about too much, there's too many pointers to take down, I'm not going to remember it all. It's really just kind of planting a little seed in your mind, so, you are aware that some things do happen. It's not something to be scared of. By all means, go out there, try everything that, this wonderful hobby has to offer, but, don't take everything that we say for gospel, because you're going to have to go out there and try these things yourself, and when it does happen, you'll know what we're talking about, okay? But, like we were mentioning just before about being in a big group, if you're in a big group of, 5 people, 10 people, you might feel like, oh, I have to stick around with these people the entire weekend. I like them, I do get along, but I kind of want to go meet other people in the community. I want to go and see, who else is out there that I can have a chat to and, and maybe really get along well with. Maybe make a new friend, maybe make a new best friend, maybe make a new cosplay buddy, whatever it might be. But obviously, when you're in a big group, you don't feel obliged that you have to stick around with them the whole time. You can duck out, you can duck back in. That's what, friends should be. Therefore, they should, be there to be there for you when you want to go out and explore. They should be there when you want to have, it's kind of like a safe space to be in as well. But when you do go out and you are doing things solo, you can do things on your schedule. Now, this is a big thing in terms of maybe there's a voice actor you really want to meet. Maybe there's a panel you really want to see. Maybe there's a shop you want to go visit. Maybe there's a cosplay you want to go meet. You can do these things whenever you want to do it. Now, I think the biggest kind of example, do these things on your schedule, is when I was with, for example, the very first con I went with my little brother and his friend. And we got along great. It was still a great time, but the entire time it was very much, oh, let's kind of stay together. I don't know anybody else. As a result, we just stayed together the entire weekend. I didn't meet anybody. I didn't really talk to anybody else. I was kind of hoping somebody would come and talk to me, but as we know, that's not going to happen. You have to take the steps to do it yourself, okay? But when my brother was like, oh, you're starting cosplay, Jeremy? Oh, I don't think I want to go to cons anymore. I did go to cons for myself for the first time, and I did start actually putting the effort to go and talk to people, and I actually started to meet people. Now, this wasn't because my brother was there, I couldn't meet people. It was because he was there, I felt like, he's there, he's my company, and, I don't feel a need to talk to anybody else. Well, in essence, that was very much an excuse in which, I very much would have liked to make cosplay friends. I very much would have liked to find someone who could have cosplayed with me. But because I felt like I should, or I needed to, stay in the company of my brother, I didn't go out and do so. So when you do go out by yourself, solo cosplay, or you kind of detach yourself from the big group that you're part of to go and talk to people, or wander around by yourself, maybe with just one other friend, it really does open you up to the opportunity to go and talk to people and meet people. It does make it a lot easier to kind of talk to people one-on-one, as you know, rather than in a big group. So it does make it a lot more personable and a lot easier to talk to people, okay? So, now that we've kind of gone through, why you should do cosplay solo, these are some things that I actually learnt from it, okay? Because a lot of the time, you're very reliant. I know for myself, especially when I wasn't very charismatic, I wasn't very comfortable with myself, when I was very reliant on being around other people to say, hey, look, I'm not a loner, I'm not by myself, I'm a worthy person. I only felt that when I was with other people, okay? And I very much was reliant on them to be like, I'm only like a sociable person if I'm seen with other people, or I'm only, a popular cosplayer if I can be seen hanging around other people. And when I wasn't with people at all, and I was by myself, I didn't feel like that was the case. So these are some things that I learnt just from being by myself, okay? And don't forget, this was from when I first started to after I had my breakup to when I felt like I needed to be in a group, or even when I was, forced to be in a situation where I was just by myself, whether it be my fault or wasn't my fault, just, things happen. You will find yourself by yourself sometimes, and these are some things I learned from it, okay? So let's go through that bit by bit. So, number one, you're actually forced to do things by yourself, and this is good because you actually are forced to learn. Now, when I say this, I didn't know how to do wigs. I didn't know how to do wigs for the longest time, and it wasn't that I was incapable of learning. It was just so scary, I didn't want to touch it. So I got one of my mates at the time who was studying to become a hairdresser. I was like, wow, perfect. Maybe you can help me do my wigs. I'll even, pay you for it. Now, unfortunately, this friend of mine was not very reliable. So I did check up with him, and I did, I got the wig, I bought it myself, and I said, hey, look, this is the base wig. I kind of want it styled into this character. Can you do it for me? And he was like, yeah, no problem. I got you, okay? So this was a month out from the convention, and I said, cool, how is the wig going? And it's like, no, it's all good. Like, I've got it. I'm ready to start it. A bit busy right now. No, I'll get to it. All right, no worries. I trust you. 2 weeks out, I said, cool, dude, just wanted to check up. How's it going? I was like, no, don't worry, dude, don't worry. Just, it's all set up and ready to go. I've just had a busy week. I'm going to get to it this week, okay? It's all good, okay? 1 week before the con. Dude, how's it going? Just kind of wanted to check in. I just want to make sure it's ready because that's like the last part of my costume I need. And he said, oh, dude, like, don't worry. It's there. It's not a hard task to do. I've still got to get to it, but I can get it done. Don't worry about it. By this stage, Jordy, I'm like, what's going on, buddy? Just if you can't do it, just tell me kind of thing. But obviously, by that stage, I didn't know how to cut wigs. I didn't know what I was doing. I was pretty reliant on this person, okay? So, 3 days out from the con, same thing. I'm like, hey, dude, what's up? What's going on? It's like, sorry, dude, like, just been a bad day, been really busy. Like, I'll get to it, okay? I was like, oof. Because at this stage in time, too, you're starting to feel like, am I a bother? Am I trying to push this onto somebody else who doesn't care about it as much? And that exactly was the case. But then I came to 1 day before the con, like the day before, I said, dude, what's going on? I kind of like really need this. And he said, look, dude, don't worry. Look, I'm working on it right now. That's what I wanted to hear. I'm working on it right now. It'll be done. Okay, it'll be done by tomorrow. He's like, sweet. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. So I go over to their place the morning of the convention. And what happens? He's like, oh, dude, I got to go. Your wig's there. It's all set up, ready to go. Here's all the tools. Good luck. Good luck. He had not touched it the entire month. Obviously, I was very, very upset because I put my trust, I put my faith in him, and he didn't get it done. But at the same time, I had about 2 hours to cut a wig, which, it seems like enough time, but this is the first time I had ever done anything with wigs. So this is me, just doing my best, get a picture up, I start cutting it. They're hairdresser scissors, so obviously I cut my fingers a few times. Hairdresser scissors are very sharp. They're very sharp. And then I'm cutting it, I'm putting the hairspray on, and hairspray in open wounds, it stings a little bit, so I had like little cuts all over my fingers, but I got this wig done by myself. I got to the con a little bit late. The wig was choppy, it wasn't very good, but it was a very good first step for me, which forced me to learn I am capable of doing this, I can do these things, and it was the first step of me actually experimenting with wigs and trying them. Much less to say, I never trusted that friend again to do anything of mine with cosplay. Well, shame on me. I did ask him, like, hey, can you come over and help me with this thing? He was the kind of person, again, he wasn't as passionate about making costumes as I was, so, I was staying up to 2, 3, 4 in the morning. He went to bed and just knocked out at 1 o'clock. Obviously, I was like, dude, like, I wanted you to come over and help me finish this thing, but obviously you might think, oh, I'm upset, like, it's my mate, they should be helping me out. One thing I learnt quite really was like, hey, look, it's my project, it's not theirs. If I don't finish it, that's on me. I shouldn't be livid, I shouldn't be angry, it's my fault. And it was, it really was. But it doesn't mean like, oh, I can't trust anyone else ever again. Like, I'm going to do it all myself, can't trust nobody. That's not how it should be, no. It just meant, to me, I couldn't, rely on my friend here to help me with costumes. That just wasn't something that they liked doing, or something they were passionate about, and it was just on me. Something I learnt, right? But a big thing I learnt about doing that, and you might think, what's this got to do with doing cosplay by yourself, is you might be reliant on someone to help you sew something, someone to help you make something, someone to help you do something which you don't think you could do yourself. What I learnt from doing these things is you are a lot more capable than you think you are. You're a lot more independent, you're a lot more skillful, you just have to, number one, trust yourself and give it a go. This same thing applies to when you go to a convention. You might think, oh, I'm not very good at talking to people. I'm very shy. I'm very introverted. People aren't going to like me. I kind of like having my friends there because they can do all the talking. They can be good things, but you yourself are very, very capable of doing it. You're very independent. You're very talented. You're a wonderful person, and you don't need anyone else to explain that for you. You can do that. You very much can do that, because at the end of the day, you want to make friends for yourself. You don't want to be like, oh, I'm this person's friend. What kind of friendship do you want to have with someone? It's like, oh yeah, I met this person, they were Jeremy's friend. No, you are your own person. You are very much independent. You are a wonderful, amazing individual, and you just got to show that off to people. You got to find a way to communicate that. So, doing things by yourself, for yourself, is incredibly important in this way, because it's something that you will learn. You're going to learn very quickly that, hey, I am capable of doing this. I don't need someone else there with me. It's nice if they are, but I don't need them there to carry a conversation. I don't need them there to be the only reason why I can be part of this community. You can do it, okay? So that's number one. You learn a lot of things about, number one, how to make things, but number two, excuse me, very fizzy this drink, but number two, you are a lot more capable and a very strong independent person who can do things for yourself, by yourself, okay? Number three, you actually learn a lot about yourself and kind of where you're at with both, your skill set and also in life, because you might go out and do solo cosplay. You might not know much about the community. You might not know much about, like, okay, I really want to get to know people who like the same things as I do. I mean, for example, for me, all boys school, I was the nerdiest dude who wasn't afraid to show it off anyway. So I was like the anime guy, but I really wanted to make friends who liked anime as well. Not just like, yeah, I like playing, Call of Duty. I like playing, Nintendo 64 at the time. But I want someone who likes anime, like Japanese cartoons, the same as me, right? It's a little bit different from just video games. But when I went to a convention for the first time, one of the biggest things I learned is where I'm at in terms of, wow, I really like cosplay. It's something that I don't want to give up. At the same time, I'm really bad at talking to people. And so it is one of those things I started to become very well aware of. It was, no, I'm saying bad to talk to people. You might be like, oh, I already knew that because I don't talk to many people at school. I don't go to university and talk with everybody around me. But this is an area, particularly at conventions, in which everybody is the same, has the same interests as you. Everybody there is a geek in some way. A lot of people there like dressing up. And because we're so similar, shouldn't it be so easy just to talk to everybody around us so very easily? But I found it very quickly, I sucked. I was really bad. And could have been one of two things. And I did do both of these things for a while. So number one, I cried about it. I was like, oh, I can't talk to anyone. What am I going to do? But after a while, I very much learned, like, well, it's up to me. I am strong. I'm independent. And I can do this. So after a while, I learnt how, bit by bit, to get better at talking to people. But the first thing is quite literally going out on your own to discover these things. Because if you are always going to a convention with a friend, a close friend, or in my case, I went with my partner at the time. I went with a circle of friends. And you stick to that circle. There's nothing wrong with that. If you're having a good time and you're enjoying yourself, it's great. But what are you, by yourself outside of those things? Are you just going to be this person's friend? Are you just going to be, that member of, the Genshin cosplay circle? Are you going to be that member of that store over there? It really depends. Like, what do you want? Because in the end, I'm sure you, just like me, you want to be known as you. You want to be, like, I want to be known as Jeremy. I'm Mangle Phantom. That's me. I don't want to just be known as, for example, I don't want to just be like, that other half of, Team Australia WCS, or it's like, oh yeah, Maia's cosplay partner, that's him. I get introduced like that sometimes, but very quickly, obviously, I talk to them, it's like, oh, Jeremy, he's his own person, he does his own thing, awesome. But, if you want to be known to do you and be known as you, you do have to do things by yourself, for yourself, in order for that to happen. You can't just stick really in your groups the whole time. I mean, you can, like I said, you can do that as long as you're having a good time, but I know for myself, I did that for years, and I didn't really feel like I was my own person. I didn't really feel like I was an individual. I didn't feel like I was really anybody. I was just attached to somebody else. So in order for, you to kind of become that individual, you do have to go solo. You do have to do things for yourself. You do have to do things by yourself, okay? Alright, now, I'm going to do just a quick little section about meeting people, because you may be like, I go out and I talk to people, but I just don't seem to make any friends, or I just don't seem to get along with people, or, Jeremy, the only kind of people that I meet are those people that I kind of get along well with, but I don't really feel super comfortable, like the conversation doesn't go back and forth, we don't just laugh with each other all the time, I just don't have that connection with people. Number one, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. Because the core... Look, here's a core message. This isn't my message, but I've seen it from people that I look up to and people that I kind of follow for inspiration and people that I've learned from personally. Just the core message of the whole social skills, socializing shebang is you're not going to get along with everybody, okay? But that's completely fine. One more time for those in the back. You're not going to get along with everybody, and that's completely fine. I was actually having this conversation last night, actually, when I was at dinner. Just, you are probably going to go out and you're going to meet a lot of people. And it doesn't matter how, wonderful you are, how attractive you are, how much of a good person you are. You could be the kindest, fittest, greatest, most wonderful person in the world. And there will be people who will find some reason to not like you. It could be a jealousy thing. It could be an envy thing. It could just be they don't like your vibe. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter what you do. You will find people who you're not going to get along with, okay? But that's fine. That's good. It just means that you are being you. You're doing the best version of you. And not everyone's going to like you. But that's fine, because it means that you're standing for something. It means that you're doing something which is true to yourself. If you're going to be the kind of person who's like, oh, I want to be the kind of person which everybody loves, everybody should like me. That's my goal. My goal is to have everybody like me. You're going to be very, very fake. Because by that stage, you're doing things to please other people. You're going to please person A, but you have to change yourself slightly to please person B, and change yourself just a bit more so you can please person C, and then F, and then H, and then T. Every time you kind of change a bit of yourself, you're not really being yourself. You're just changing yourself to please other people. And obviously, if you're just changing yourself all the time to please somebody else, you're not really being yourself anymore, are you? You're just being someone who tries to please other people. You're being very, very fake. You're not being authentic. So if you kind of want to, I mean, you can do that. You can try and do that, but it's going to catch up with you really quickly. You're going to get very tired of just, putting on this fake personality, this fake persona, and you're not going to even know who you are anymore. You're going to be like, who am I? What am I doing? I'm just kind of pandering to people. So if you are yourself, if you don't mind saying, like, this is who I am, this is what I stand for, this is what my voice sounds like, this is the JustBeCos podcast, which people listen to and some people hate, that's fine. Just, we're doing, I'm doing the best I can, you're doing the best you can. You're going to have some people who are not going to like you no matter what you do, but that is fine. It means you're doing you, and it means you're doing stuff that's authentic to you, and that's good. Okay? I'm proud of you. If that's where you're at right now, it's good. You're not going to have everyone liking you, because that's just how it is. You're not going to click with everybody that you meet. And this takes me back to where I was initially. It's like, Jeremy, I talk to people, but we have some conversation, but we just don't click. We just don't have that real close level of connection. That's fine. You are more than welcome to talk to the people more, talk to those people more, and see, it's like, oh, maybe we can build a connection. Maybe we can kind of talk about our goals, our fears, our dreams, and see if there's a connection, and we just click, right? But there's sometimes it just doesn't connect, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, good example, say this piece of paper right here, if anyone is just listening to the audio version, I'm holding up a piece of paper folded in half. This represents me. This represents all of my interests on this piece of paper. My likes, my dislikes, my fears, my dreams, the things that I believe in, the things that I stand for. This is me. And then this phone with a timer on it, this is someone else's personality. It's not to say that, okay, look, let's make it even. There, we're about the same size, right? This phone is somebody else's personality. This is my personality. Sometimes they overlap. Look at that. They overlap. That means we might get along well. We might have similar ideals. We might have similar beliefs. We might have similar interests in things. That's great. That means, yeah, we could be friends. We could be great friends. At the same time, they might only overlap this much. Anyone watching the audio, I was listening to the audio right now, just the corners are overlapping. This much. It means we might have some things in common. We might have some similar beliefs, right? That means we might be friends as well. But at the same time, we might be like this, completely separate. Any audio listeners? There's no overlap right now. The phone and the piece of paper are completely separate. We are two completely separate people. We don't have any overlapping beliefs. We don't have anything in common. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It just means that we're just two completely different people. The only way you're actually going to find out about people is if you talk to them, you have a conversation, you spend some time together, and you learn about that. Sometimes clicks immediately. You just get it from the get-go. Sometimes it takes time to discover these things. And sometimes it takes time to discover you have nothing in common. And that is completely fine. So the real goal here is, you might think like, oh, well, that's me, I talk to people and I've got nothing in common with them, or the conversation leads to nowhere, or I'm trying to figure out something to say and I'm always struggling. I always feel like I'm having to struggle to have a conversation with them. That's fine. I'm saying it's fine because it just means that those are not your people. That's not your tribe. The goal here, if that's the case, is to try and talk to lots of different people. Talk to lots of different people and find out, do we have similarities? Do we have mutual interests? Do we have, a lot of things in common? Do we have the same beliefs? Do we have the same sense of humor? These are things that you really only find out about people as you talk to them. But you do have to go out of your way, obviously, to meet people, right? So if you are someone who is struggling right now to, find your crowd, find your tribe, and you are a bit of a solo cosplayer, don't see it as a bad thing. See it as an opportunity. It's a very good opportunity because it means you do have a lot of good chances to go out and meet people. And when you meet people, you find out, oh, do I get along with this person? Let's find out. That should be the only goal. That should be the only goal. It shouldn't be like, oh, I met this person and I don't want to be alone at a convention. I don't want to be by myself, so I have to pander to them. I have to make it so I like what they like. And they say, it's like, oh yeah, I like metal music. And like, oh, I really like metal music too. We should be friends. You don't have to. There's nothing wrong with that. They'd be like, oh, I like metal music. And for me, it'd be like, oh, metal, that's cool. Like, I'm a real big fan of pop music. I love boy bands. I love the Backstreet Boys. They're my favorite. We might not have a similar interest in music. That's fine. We might have a mutual interest in something else. We might have no mutual interests. But that's fine. That's fine. So, the number one recommendation here is don't be afraid to go out solo and meet lots of different people. And even if you don't have anything in common, don't fret about it, because very good chance, there's a very high statistical chance that 7.2 billion people, whatever it is in the world, that you're going to find people who do have things in common with you. You're going to find people who do have the same interests, share the same values, and there will be people who you will get along with as friends. Pretty inspiring, isn't it? Think about it. Think about it. So, number one, just don't be afraid to go out there. And as a solo person, even if you've got a nice group of friends, but you want to either get to know them better, go and get to know that group of friends better, spend some time together. But if you're finding, oh, we just don't seem to click, and I kind of want to meet other people, don't be afraid to go out and venture. Go and chat to new people. It doesn't have. You could be part of the group. You could all, as a group, go around and talk to people. You could also, by yourself, walk around at a convention and talk to people. That's how you meet people. That's how it's supposed to work, right? So number two, don't be afraid of going solo. Like I said before, it's very much gonna happen. It's gotta happen whether you like it or not, because otherwise, as one of my mates said, they said, oh, I've got a student who said he went to a convention and it was great, because they're a teacher, right? And he said, oh, cool, like, what did you do? He's like, oh, walked around and looked at shops. It's cool. Did you talk to anyone? It's like, oh, no, not really. Oh, did you make any friends? Did you try and meet anyone? It's like, oh, no, not really. Like, well, did you really go to a convention then? Did you really go to a convention? Because you could easily go to any anime store that you wanted to and go shopping. You could go online and go shopping. You could, if you're there for the special guests, you go for the special guest signings. But to me, anyway, the point of a convention in particular is to be social. It's a gathering of people. It's a gathering of lots of weebs, lots of geeks like you and myself, and it's the opportunity to kind of get to know people. And it's the perfect opportunity to meet people, I'd say, because everybody there does have some common ground in that way. It's not as if, you're going out to the club or you're going out to university, you're going out to school, and you don't know if there's any chance of anything in common. At a convention, you've already got one thing at a very base level in common, which is you're both weebs, you're both geeks, and it's great. You can already have cool, this is a great place to meet people. So, it's a great time to go out and be solo, okay? Now, number three, don't force yourself to fit in, okay? Excuse me. Don't force yourself to be like, oh, I'm going out by myself. I'm solo. Or let's talk to this one person. Oh, okay, cool. We have a little chat. We don't have anything in common, but you're the one person I've talked to today. So I'm just gonna hang around. I'm just gonna hang around, and maybe if you walk in that direction, I'll follow you too. I'll follow you too, because I don't want to be by myself. I don't want to be that person who's walking around by themselves. Okay? Don't be that person. If you're someone who, you meet somebody, say you are going to somewhere solo, and you do meet someone, you meet maybe a group of friends, and you kind of have a small chat, but, that chat is a couple of minutes long, and you find out, oh, we don't really get along. We actually don't have that much in common. But I don't want to be alone, so I'm going to kind of hang around and follow this group. Because I just don't want to be by myself. You're going to be like, I like to call it an orbiter. So you're like a planet that orbits the sun. You know, the planet just kind of hangs around the sun. It orbits it. You're going to be an orbiter. You're someone who just kind of hangs around someone or a group of people, but you don't really have any connection, or you don't really have any good social chemistry with the group or with that person. So if you don't get along with someone when you talk to them, don't feel obliged to hang around. Don't feel like, oh, I'm going to be lonely or left out if I don't hang around someone, so I might as well hang around these people. Don't be afraid to be by yourself, because it really is the best opportunity to meet people. Here's a good way of putting it. If you are hanging around people who you kind of get along with, but they're not like great friends, that's nothing wrong with that. But if you actually want to meet people who could potentially become great friends, you do have to go out and talk to people. You do have to go out and take those chances, because it's kind of like, if anything, hanging around in, let's say, a relationship in which you don't love them. You're not in love. You're not having a great amount of time. But, you don't want to hurt them, or you don't want to know what your life is going to be like if you're just by yourself again. Well, every kind of minute that you're spending with something that you don't really care about is a minute that you're kind of wasting, spending that time exploring something that could be great. Okay? So, look, just to wrap it up, really, solo cosplay. Number one, it's a good thing. Don't feel bad about doing things by yourself, because it's a lot that you can learn from. It's a lot of stuff that you can... Not that you can learn from. It's a lot of opportunity to learn about yourself, and it's a lot of opportunity as well to go and meet other people and create those new friendship circles. Obviously, the ideal thing to do is you meet somebody. Great, you get along well. Maybe they'll introduce you to somebody else. Great, then you've got two friends. Cool, maybe you'll introduce one of your friends to it. And then, that's how the circle of friends kind of expands bit by bit by bit. But if that's not something that happens naturally, if that's not something that feels like, yeah, this is a great friendship, our conversations go back and forth, and you kind of just, oh, I'm just hanging around, but I'm not really involved in the crowd, you might just be wasting your own time. Go and find your tribe. Don't be afraid to go out there, be solo, do your own thing, meet people, have a great time. That's what cosplay's all about. Enjoy yourself. Be social. Now, you might be thinking like, oh, that's easy if you're social like you, Jeremy. That's easy if you're able to talk to people and you're charismatic and all that. Look, I'm a huge introvert. I don't know if you know that. If you don't know what that is, well, it's just people who prefer being by themselves, because like, yes, this is a comfortable space. I feel very energized by myself. Extroverts like, hey, people, yeah, I love being around people. I'm not an extrovert. I'm a huge introvert. I love being by myself. I love spending time just sitting at home playing video games, okay? But I quite like going out to talk to people. It's something I do enjoy, and it's something that I find myself I've gotten pretty good at over the years. So, bit of a self-plug. If you're someone who's an introvert, but you'd like some help making friends, you'd like some help kind of learning to be social, and you'd like some help kind of learning the ropes and doing these kinds of things for yourself, by yourself, but you don't know how to improve, you don't know where to start, I got your back. Quite literally, just check out my Instagram profile in the link. Just check the link, check the description. The link in my bio of my Instagram. I've built a little course which will help you out. Feel free to check it out. If you don't want to, that's fine. Just it's a resource that's available if you want some extra help. In becoming social, in learning how to just be comfortable going out, talking to people at conventions. It's a great thing that I've learned, and it's something that I want to pass on to other people. So that's why I've made it. So check out this link. It's in my bio of my Instagram if you want to check it out. Cool. Okay, that's pretty much it. We've talked today. I've almost made it to the full hour of a podcast by myself, which isn't too bad. I wasn't actually sure how far I'd get by myself doing this. I'm not sure how many times I'll do this. I kind of want to do relevant topics. Relevant topics between two people is good. We can go some back and forth. There's something else that we can talk about bit by bit. But By myself, I did a solo topic, which is about solo cosplay, which is pretty cool. And we can go so far, but at the same time, you're probably here for the banter. You're here for the back and forth. You're here for the social chemistry, the good vibes. That's probably why you like the Just Because pod. Maybe you're actually here for Maia. You very much could be, because went to some party, a lot of people's like, yeah, I watched the Just Because podcast. Yeah, Maia's my favourite. Look, I get it. Don't worry. If you're not here for me, you can skip this episode. But if you've made it this far, appreciate you. Good on you. I had to carry this one by myself. And like I said, it's not something that I think I want to do too much, because it's a lot more fun when there's a podcast where there is a bit of a back and forth. So that's... Look, hopefully this is just going to be a one-off. But if you enjoyed this one-off, appreciate you. I do make YouTube videos once in a while if you prefer that kind of thing. But again, link in my bio of all that kind of cool stuff if you want that. Okay? So, what I'll do, I'll wrap it up here. Now, again, like I said, she's busy for the next couple of weeks. She's actually away. She's traveling, doing a bit of her time, which is good. Let's see. Next week. There's going to be something next week. I'll figure out something for next week. Don't worry. I got you. So, like I said, we don't want too many breaks in between our podcast release. We do want to try something every Monday, even if it's going to be something solo like this. But even if Maia's not back for next week, I'll figure something out. We'll figure something out. We'll message something, and we'll keep in touch with you guys. But until then, let us know, what have your experiences been as a solo cosplayer? Have they been good? Have they been bad? Have they been great? Has it been awful? If you've got a cool story, let us know. Put in the comments. I'd love to hear about it. And keep an eye out for our stories, because we're going to be doing some polls soon. We want to learn more about you guys. We want to learn more about what you want to see, what things that you like, and we really want to kind of involve the community a lot more, because feedback from everybody that we've met in person, we've had a lot of cool comments from people just like, hey, you did the podcast, love it, good job. It's been very heartwarming. So thank you for everyone who is tuning in and continues to tune in, because it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to kind of create a project like this and know people enjoy listening to it as well. So we'll keep doing our best. Anyway, until then, I'll see you next week. I don't know what's happening. I'll figure something out. But tune in, and thanks for your support, and we'll see you again very soon, next week, hopefully. Thank you so much. Okay, bye-bye. We'll see you then. Bye. Bye. Maia says bye. 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 Bye.